Welcome back to my channel. My name is Celia, and in this video we're going to be talking all about periods and pads and tampons, because the second business that I started was basically a period parcel. Let's get into it. So, as I mentioned before, no I didn't. Rona. Now, the reason that I started my monthly was because I saw a huge gap in the market. I also hated going and buying my pads and tampons from the supermarket. I always felt really uncomfortable and I just didn't want to run into anyone, so I thought I could solve that problem. And that is how my monthly came about. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the entire process of how I had this idea, all of the planning that I did, our launch, how that went, and then I'm also going to talk about how the business closed. Throughout the whole process too, the business evolved. So we started doing period parcels and then somehow we evolved into gift parcels. So my plan was that these period parcels would contain all of your period necessities, whether you like pads, tampons, liners, whatever you use, there would be a parcel for you, but it would also contain fun stuff. Like, you know when you get your period and you're like, a great excuse to eat chocolate? Like, I wanted all of those things in a parcel. So what we had was chocolate, chai tea, Nurofen, lollies, and then we also had like a self-care thing. Like I wanted to bring in some sort of self-care. I wanted to engage with small businesses. So like my brain was running wild. But then I guess with all of this, I had to see if it was going to be a profitable and viable option. Obviously people would be paying a premium price for this when really they could go to the supermarket and get them themselves. So yeah, that was sort of the planning that went through my head. And yeah, I guess this video is going to sort of give you an insight to where we went from there. There was obviously a lot of things that we needed for this business, and it wasn't just getting all of that stock in. I needed a website, and this is before I knew anything about Shopify. So if anyone's planning an online selling business, I can't recommend Shopify enough. I've used it for my other businesses. But anyway, let's get back into my monthly. So during the initial stages of the business, I did a lot of planning. At the time I was working full-time and I was a team leader of a team of around 25 people, but I was pretty good at my job. So I didn't have like a lot of daily tasks. I could manage the team, but I could also have a lot of downtime to sort of do this planning. And having access to internet and computer, it was exactly what I needed to sort of do this. So I hustled. What I did is I created a spreadsheet, and I'm going to show you the spreadsheet because I found it on my laptop and I'm so glad I did. And it's going to give you a rundown of sort of what my planning looked like. I obviously knew that I was going to have a lot of different suppliers, from stickers that I wanted, like customized stickers. I wanted a new logo. Okay, so speaking about logo, here is the mock-up logo that I found. That this is one of the original ones that I did. I'm pretty sure I would have done this on Paint or potentially Canva. I don't know if I had Canva back then. I probably did. And then this is the professional logo that I got done. And then this is the professional logo in a circle, which I definitely would have done myself. I needed a website, and then I needed all of the supplies for the parcels, and there was a lot. And really, I had no investment for anyone. I was going to be using my own savings to do this, and I think at the time I must have had maybe $2,000 or $3,000 that I decided, you know what, I'm going to use this and invest it into my own business and see how it goes. So in this spreadsheet that I'm about to show you, you'll see all of these different little things that are sort of added on. So this is a document that I created when I was first starting this business. So in this tab down the bottom called Feminine Products, I basically went through and found all the suppliers I could for tampons in column B, and then for pads and liners in column I. From there, once I found the suppliers, I obviously looked at all the different brands, the type they were. So for tampons, there was mini, regular, and supers, and the cost of the packet. So let's use this top one for example. The You by Kotex mini tampons cost me $4.58, and inside there was 16 of them. So each one of them cost me 29 cents. I did the exact same with the liners. So I went through all of that, figured out what what the options were with these wholesalers were, so all of these were wholesalers. In column A it was wholesalers, in column H it was a wholesalers. From there, in the next tab, cost of feminine items, so I've obviously gone in here and I've picked the ones that I wanted and where I could get them for and what the costs were. We can ignore the rest that's over here. I'll get to that after. So yeah, basically this is where my tabs sort of go to. The next tab was Costco. So this is where I went to get like chocolates and lollies, and I actually got the pads and tampons from here too. So these were factored in, although, so I obviously had the spreadsheets that had the wholesalers back here, but when I went to Costco, because I had that spreadsheet, I could see that Costco was cheaper, so I purchased them from Costco. And I also purchased Werther's lollies, Chupa Chups, and lint balls. The Chupa Chups was literally a big tin of 1,000. Like, it was ridiculous. It was huge. And then we go to sweet treats. So this is other sweet treats that I could get from the wholesalers. So this is sort of like all of my, I guess, research for supplies. Again, breaking it down into what it actually was. So for example, from the supplier Campbell's, I could get Wicked Fizzes, and they came in a pack of 60 and it cost me $6.31, so each of them cost 11 cents. Moving on, pain relief. So pain relief was key for the period parcels. I definitely wanted to have this in here, and there was only one supplier, and that's basically the cost I could get them for, so that's what I bought them for. Obviously, I wasn't breaking up the parcels. I think this is the quantity of actual tablets. So there was 8 tablets and it cost me $1.82. I just factored it in because obviously Panadol, there was more tablets than there was in the Nurofen one. So again, just my planning. Now, this one was crucial, and this is where I should have seen the issue arising. So here you can see the different parcels that I created. So the tampon parcel, the pad parcel, and the mixed parcel. And then it has like the cost of the items and the cost of the pain relief, cost of the chocolate, additional item, and down here I had it listed as bath bomb, face mask, nail polish. I think I've got another tab for the ones that I actually went with. Adding in the box cost, the decorations, the PayPal fee, literally adding in everything. The only thing I haven't added in here is in column B, and it's the express postage, so postage as a whole. What you can already see from this in column J is the total that it cost me for all of these things. In column K is the cost that I wanted to sell the parcels for, and then in column L was going to be the profit from that. So obviously column K minus column J equals my profit. So $20 sounds great until I had to add in the postage, and I will get to that a little bit later on, and this is kind of where my monthly came crashing down. Not really, but I'll talk to you about it in a little bit later. Okay, so once I did all of that planning, I had sort of nailed down who my suppliers were gonna be, all of the items that I wanted, and I mean, this spreadsheet took a lot of time. Like, it was something that I continued to work on. Obviously, a lot of it I could do online from the online wholesalers once I got access to their catalogs. But when I went to Costco, I had to add all of that in, so I make sure to keep receipts so I could literally manually type it all into the spreadsheet. And then Etsy as well. So Etsy, I could do a lot of back and forth, but for wholesale prices on Etsy, you obviously have to do a lot of messaging. They don't have it as like an advertised item. But that was fine. That was something that I continued to work on, and I was able to do this, again, all from my computer at work. So once I did all of this and I sort of had a rough idea of what my costs were going to be, what my profit margins could be, I decided it was time to either give the green light to go ahead or tell myself, no, this isn't a great idea. And I think because I had so much validation from like friends, and like I remember posting in like a few different Facebook groups and people were like, this is a great idea. I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I saw the money as an investment, and to be honest, I'm so glad that I did it because I have learned so much from this business. Now, at this time, I was doing lashes. So in my previous video, you would have heard me talk about my lash business. I was doing lashes from my mum's house in a spare room that I had there. So I had space there. Very quickly, I realized the amount of stock we were gonna need, I wasn't going to have space in the lash room, and it wouldn't look professional with all of this like shit around. So I decided to move the My Monthly business to my house, and I had a spare room and I set it up in there. And it literally just took over. I wish I had videos or like a footage of it because it literally filled the entire room. I had to go and buy shelving and like had to have everything. Once I'd given sort of myself the green light, I okayed web design. Now, web design is something that was still very new to me, and I was like, what am I doing? Who do I go to? I found a company in Melbourne. What I wanted was someone or a company that I knew that if I needed to, I could travel to them to see them. So I really wanted something local. I didn't find anything in Ballarat, but I went through to a company in Melbourne, and honestly, it was a fucking nightmare. It was so much back and forth. I actually can't remember the name of the company, but if I could, I would probably mention them. But I decided, yeah, anyway, I went with them, and a lot of back and forth, a lot of arguments, a lot of invoices to be paid, and I had a website. And if I could go back in time, I 110% would have done a Shopify website. I would have saved so much money, and Shopify is so easy to use. Like, I've learned about Shopify through my future businesses after my monthly one, but yeah, I guess these are just little things that you learn along the way. If you're planning on selling online, I cannot recommend Shopify enough. It is so easy, and there are so many resources online that you can use to help you create a great store. So I learned my next business that I'll talk about in a future video, I learned it all from YouTube of how to create a Shopify store. Something else I had to do was register the business name. So I already had an ABM from my eyelash business, but I needed to register the business name. So I went and registered my monthly name, and then I began ordering. Now, something that I learned when it came to the ordering side is, obviously you can get wholesale prices from like the Etsy suppliers and that type of thing, but you also have to factor in shipping. Some of these Etsy sellers were all around Australia, and shipping can be quite expensive, especially a lot of them have like a min order quantity. Usually probably the minimum is around 30 to 50, but some of them had 100. I remember I purchased, I think it must have been face masks or something, and I had to order like maybe 50 of them, and like I wasn't getting them for $1. Like, they were probably like $2 or $3 items. Over the next few weeks, as all of my orders began to arrive, I was setting up the room, getting everything organized, and I obviously created a Facebook page, I created an Instagram page, and on the Instagram page, I just started posting memes. I'll see if I can find some, and if I'll spread them around the page if I can. So eventually I had all of the stock, everything ready. I'd ordered custom stickers and custom paper from China that arrived. Here's a little video that shows you the crepe paper that I got created that had our logo on it. And these little pop open cards, we also put them in the parcel. So they were like a little added self-care gift. I literally had everything ready to go, and we could literally get ready for launch. I think the last thing that I waited for was a website, and once I had that, we were basically ready to go. So once I had all of the stock, I obviously needed to pack everything, and there was so much stuff. So I enlisted my best friend Marnie to come over, and we began packing. This is actually a video of Marnie opening the first period parcel that I built. You just got your period.
Oh, such a shit time of the month. Wish I had a present.
Here are some photos that I found from Facebook. Once we launched, I sent a few of the parcels off to friends, and they posted on Facebook. So you can see all of the items that are inside the parcels. Here is also a time lapse of me and Marnie making the parcels. I think at the start, these are the period parcels, and then it goes into the gift boxes. Here is a Facebook post that I did to say thanks to Man. She was so happy to come over and help. She also familiarized herself with the treat room. So although, as I said earlier, like I moved the business into a spare room at my house, which we then, called the treat room because it was full of so much yum stuff, so many chocolates and lollies. Here's a little Snapchat of Marnie that I found on my phone.
Get out of the treat room. I can hear you opening your chocolate wrapper.
Something we learned very early on is that it's very easy to get distracted when you're packing. So we would do these, we would call them audits, and we'd do audits on each other. So randomly one of us would yell out audit, and the other person would audit our box. And I can't explain how many times we like fucked up. So we were almost ready to launch, right? And the last thing I needed to do was figure out the postage side of things. So I'd obviously ordered these boxes, and when I went onto the Australia Post website, I put in their dimensions, and I got an estimated quote of what I was going to use. So I ran with that. I think it was around like $8 or $9 for postage. However, very last minute, obviously I had everything ready to go. This was the last thing. And I remember going into the post office box and asking for the one that I'd seen online, and they showed me it, and I tried to fit the box into it and it did not fit. It literally, I don't know what came over me, but I didn't think of it properly, and I needed to go up, like a big jump up in size, which also came with a big up in weight, which I needed as well. And I think it jumped my postage costs from like $8 maybe to around $14, $15. Okay, just quickly, I'm going to take you back to the spreadsheet that I showed you earlier in the video, and I'm going to show you why it's so important to keep track of every single little cost so that you can tell what your profit margin is going to be and if it's going to be worth your time. So in this spreadsheet, column A is obviously the different parcels we had. Column B is where I was to input the cost for postage. Now, what I want you to keep an eye on is column M, because that's our profit. For anyone who doesn't know Excel, I have an input formula here that does a calculation from column B through to column I, and it totals those columns in column K. In column L, I've input the price that I want to sell the parcels for, and then I've done another formula in column M here, which is the selling price minus the cost for materials, and that gives me my profit in column M. So keep an eye on column M now, and what we might do is if I highlight all of these three, so there were different costs for different parcels based on the different items that were going in them, but down the bottom of the Excel document here, you can see the average without the postage is around $19.41. Now I'm going to go into column B and I'm going to input $8 because that's what I originally thought it was after me looking online of the AusPost website, and you can see our profit margin our profits have gone down. And if I do an overall, the average is $11.41 that I've gotten from down the bottom here. Now, once I realized that $8 wasn't going to be what the postage was going to be, and I was going to have to pay more, which was around $15. So keep an eye on that profit column again. I'm going to change all of these to 15. Now look at my profit. So if I highlight all of them, my average profit was $4.41. So this was a significant change, and this is just so important that you get all of the facts down pat and that you have everything sorted, and you don't discover this prior to your launch. That sort of a jump really can throw your profit margins, and for me it 110% did, but instead of pulling back because I already had everything, I was like, well, we're going ahead with it. So we launched, and I remember launching it on Facebook. I remember posting on my Facebook page. All of my friends were sharing it. My family was sharing it. I posted in different Facebook groups that I was in, and things were going pretty well. Like, I'm not saying we were crazy busy all the time, but I think we had maybe 10 to 15 orders coming in a week. Wasn't heaps, but I mean, it wasn't nothing. So it had validated the idea that if people wanted it, I just need to reach the right people. Then as the numbers of period parcels began to stop selling, I was like, well, I need to do more. So I wanted to reach out to social media influencers. Now, a lot of influencers can be really expensive, especially if you want to reach the big ones. So one that I knew of was Shani Grimmond, and there was a couple of mum bloggers, one being Mel Watts, and they obviously on their YouTube, on their social media, they give you their PO box, so you can send them an item. So I actually sent both of them a period parcel, and lucky for me, they both posted it on their social media. Quick little edit, I went through my phone and I actually found the videos that Mel Watts posted on her Instagram story. Once she posted them, I emailed her and said like a big thank you, and I said, is there any chance you could send them to me? And she actually did text them to me, so I'll insert them now.
When the girls emailed me asking if I would happily get one, I was like, yeah, of course. Like, you haven't seen any of these ones around. There's heaps of pregnancy ones. There's heaps of, I don't know, how good is this? Pads, tampons. This is Nurofen. Seriously, is this not a fantastic idea? A mask. I'm excited to get my, no, I'm not excited to get my period actually. But for something like we're guaranteed to get once a month, how good's that? Pads, all sorts. What's that? Oh, tea.
So that actually got the ball rolling again, and I began to sell a bit more, but as it wasn't a sponsored post, the people seeing those posts had to do a lot more to try and get to our website. So they'd obviously heard in their, I think they did Instagram stories. In their Instagram stories, the social media influencers would mention my monthly, so then their followers would actually have to go to our my monthly website page or Instagram page and then find us that way. So it was more of a hassle. Whereas if we had have done a sponsored post, we could have given them like a swipe up to shop link and it would have worked a lot better. But all part of a learning, and it was free. That was literally free. All I had to do was pay for postage and pay for the item and send it to them, and they posted it on their Instagram story. So that was really cool. It's a really good way to get your products out there, but there's obviously no guarantee that they're gonna post about it. I sent it to a lot of others and they didn't post about it, and yeah, it's just sort of a risk. Once I did the social media influencers thing and I saw their reaction to it, I was like, this completely validates my idea again, and I think it could be really well. And I'm someone who isn't afraid to dream big. Like I just think, I don't know, I just saw so much potential. So I thought, why is this not already accessibly available in a supermarket or a pharmacy or something like that, that you can go in, grab it off the shelf, or your partner could go in and grab it off the shelf. It's all wrapped up so you don't have to see what's inside it and that type of thing. So I decided to reach out to Priceline Australia and see if they would stock my parcels. I remember emailing them and I got directed to their Victorian buyer, and I remember sending an email to her, giving her a rundown, and she was like, look, you can send us through a sample and we'll have a look and see how it goes. And to me, I was just like, fuck yes, like this is gonna be great. I think I told a couple of people, but I didn't want people to know, because I was like, if this isn't gonna work, I'm not gonna advertise it. It's gonna be in Priceline stores. Like I knew it was a big goal, but I thought, let's give it a go. So I remember my family went away for, I think it must have been like Easter or something, and I basically spent the entire time on my laptop writing a business plan, because that's what they wanted. Priceline said, send us through some samples and your business plan and we can go from there. So that's what I did, and I found the business plan on the computer the other day. Okay, it wasn't a business plan they wanted a business proposal, so I sent them through that. This is the document that I sent. I had all of this information. This first part is just a little bit about me and why I started the business, and then it sort of went into, yeah, all of the rest of it. Down here, supporting small Australian businesses, so I wanted to make sure they're aware of that. This is another item that we had in them, was the scrunchies. I don't think I mentioned that earlier. Something else that sort of pushed me to go with Priceline is I thought, because Priceline already stocked pads and tampons, maybe that means that we'd be able to order via them, so that our profit margins would be higher, because I would be able to get stock from them that they would be able to purchase in bulk. So that's something that I think is mentioned here, purchasing through Priceline. But yeah, so there was a lot of things going through my head, and I just thought this could be a really good way to scale the business. Oh God, it was so much work. Anyway, long story short, I sent it away to them and I didn't get a response for probably 2 weeks. And at this stage, this is something that I was hanging for. Like, I was so excited about this. I was like, why have they not gotten back to me? Like, I should be hearing back already. So me being me and using my initiative and being impatient, I emailed the lady and I was like, hi, like, just wanted to check that you've received it. I already knew it had been received because I've been tracking the like Ozpost tracking. And she got back to me pretty quick and she was like, look, I'm really sorry I haven't been in contact. We've been really busy. We really appreciate what you've sent through and we can understand like it's a great concept. However, it's not something that we're looking at the moment. And I was kind of like, great, cool. I've just wasted all this time. But at the same time, I'm a pretty positive person. So I was just like, well, that's a learning curve. Like I've given that a crack, didn't work, all good. By this time, it must have been a couple of months onwards and I was feeling pretty flat. Some orders would come through randomly, but I wasn't really fully into my monthly. Like I wasn't like, yeah, wasn't really enthusiastic about it. Anyway, then I had one of my guy friends message me and say, hey, it's my partner's birthday. Do you reckon you could create me like a gift parcel, but nothing period related? And I was like, well, I've got all this excess stock. Maybe if I bought a candle or something, I could create something. He was like, yep, go ahead. So this is where I think everything happens for a reason. I thought it would be a great way to move some stock as I had lots of excess stock from the period parcels of chocolates and lollies, teas, what else did I have? And the self-care stuff. So like face masks, lip balms, bath bombs, all that sort of stuff. I thought, great, I can get rid of a lot of that if I do a gift parcels, and Christmas was coming up. So I thought, if I can advertise this in my hometown for pickup, or if I could deliver it, then it's gonna make my profit margins a lot bigger. So back from the period parcels, I was only really profiting max around $4, whereas with these I could profit a lot more. So I went back to my spreadsheets and I did some more planning, and I will show you the spreadsheet now. Now, this spreadsheet is for the gift boxes. So we had 3 different gift boxes, gift box 1, gift box 2, and gift box 3. We also had a breakup box. Now, we didn't do many of the breakup box because it was a real, I guess, small area, and coming into Christmas, you're hoping you're not selling many breakup boxes. Anyway, in this spreadsheet basically shows you all the items that were going into it. It shows you the cost that it was costing me. Down here is the total of the box. And then in here I put in what I wanted to profit off each box. So this is what I learned from the first period parcels, is in these ones I wanted to make sure this is what I was profiting. So down here it shows you the total of the profit plus what it costs me to make the parcel, and then I figured out the selling price. So once I put in the selling price, then it obviously upped my total profit. That is basically what I did for all of the parcels. I wrote down everything that I wanted to put in them, figured out what I wanted to profit from them, figured out the selling price, and then figured out my new total profit. And that's basically how I decided what to do. Over on this spreadsheet, I think it's just like another one of these, but it doesn't have all the totals in it. It might have been an old one. But here I had all the different suppliers. Probably not going to include that. So once I had worked out a plan and figured out all the additional things I wanted to, I realized it was going to be a profitable option for us and decided to go ahead. So with this new item also came a new target market. So we weren't just targeting young girls anymore, we were targeting everyone, males and females that wanted an easy option to buy Christmas presents. So it worked out so well. These gift parcels were perfect for Christmas. They contained so many little items, and they also came with that goodwill feeling because you've helped small business owners as well. So prior to Christmas, we almost sold out. I think we had 2 parcels left, so we sold heaps of them, which was great because so then I'd basically recouped most of the money I had spent on all of our supplies. But then I came to the crossroad of realizing, okay, we've sold heaps for Christmas. Do I want to continue this? Basically, after we sold out, I had to decide if I wanted to continue this business by restocking most of our expensive stuff. I still had a lot of excess of like the period parcel things, and I had a heap of lollipops and that type of thing, but I just wasn't into it anymore. I still saw its potential, but the profit margins, for me to make a lot of profit over the period parcels, I would have to order bulk stock, which I couldn't guarantee that I could sell because I still had excess stock from when we first launched them. And the gift parcels I knew did really well, but it was because of the season, like it would be Christmas, so that's why they sold out. So I had a really good think about it, and also around this time, my brain was going crazy with other business ideas. I don't know, anyone who else is an entrepreneur or has just like a business mind, you just see so many different opportunities, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna end the business and I'm going to see what I want to do down the track. Now, that's not to say that I didn't still see potential. Like, I still saw so much potential in this business, and I hope maybe someone else starts a business like this. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if the companies that make tampon and pads and liners and all that stuff don't come out with something themselves that includes like chocolate and pain relief, because it is such a good option. Like, it makes it so much easier. Now, although I closed this business, I definitely in no way, shape or form see it as a failure. I learned so much from this business, and I've got a little bit of a list here, and I'm gonna give you a run through of like the biggest things that I learned, and hopefully you can learn a little bit from this too, which might help one of your businesses or a business you're gonna start in the future. So, number 1, the first thing that I learned was wholesale websites. I had no idea about them at the start, but they are really good. Most of them you only need an ABN to be able to get access to them, but a lot of them do require you to have like a forklift on site of where it's getting delivered to. So that's something to definitely look into, but a great option if you're looking at buying wholesale. Just go onto Google and type in wholesale and then your like an item that you're after, and then like where you are, so it'll give you like a local one. The other thing is cover all bases. So especially when I mentioned back to the postage issue that I had with the parcels, cover all bases and try and make sure that you've got everything covered. Third thing was Shopify. So I didn't really learn this from this business, but if I could give any advice to anyone planning on starting an online selling store, I would highly, highly recommend Shopify. It is so handy. I'll link it below. yeah, it's honestly amazing, and it'll make online selling so much easier. All of the analytics, everything that's already there, I highly recommend Shopify. The other thing that I have is managing your stock and your inventory. So one of the things that I hadn't mentioned earlier was that, like, obviously I had a lot of stock in the room, one of them being stuff that you could eat, so the chocolate. When I purchased the chocolate, I actually purchased from Coles because they had it on sale, and I think I bought 100 blocks of like the big Cadbury blocks of chocolate. Now I thought this was great because I thought I'm gonna have heaps of stock, but it actually went out of date, so I couldn't put that in my parcels. So you have to make sure you keep an eye on that sort of stuff because you don't want to be wasting money, and I definitely wasted money on that. Now, the last thing that is so incredibly key is your profit margins. I cannot stress this enough. Just make sure that your profit margins are enough to cover your time. This is something that I didn't do in my monthly business, and essentially that's where I went wrong, is my profit margins weren't high enough. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope there's something you'll be able to take from this, and if you do have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. You can look back on my previous videos, an introduction to why I got into sort of being an entrepreneur, my eyelash business, and subscribe so you can keep up to date with the future videos that I'm going to come out with of the other businesses that I've started. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next video.